Hello once again, everyone. Welcome to the next part of my Super Mario RPG Randomizer tutorial series. This video is going to be on injecting your randomized ROM into a Virtual Console WAD file to play it as if it was a Virtual Console game on your Wii. This video is specifically for injecting a Japanese ROM. What we will do is I'll do another video for the English ROM, the US ROM as well, since most people will probably want to play that, since playing a Japanese randomized ROM is problematic if you can't read Japanese. The reason that this is only for the Japanese ROM is because the process for injecting the ROM into the WAD file is actually different for the Japanese versus the US ROM. The Japanese ROM has a simpler process there because we can use an auto injector tool that will do most of the work for us, whereas the US ROM we need to do a manual process. The reason for this briefly is because after a certain point, Nintendo began using compression on the ROM files as well as some other files in their Virtual Console releases, and all of the games released on the Virtual Console that use the special SA1 chip that Super Mario RPG has. Kirby's Superstar and Kirby's Dream Land 3 also have this chip. All of the releases of these SA1 games have utilized compression on the ROM file, if you look inside the WAD and see what's going on. The only one that does not have it is the Japanese release of Super Mario RPG. This was right before they started utilizing the compression. So the auto-injector tool only works when you have an uncompressed ROM file. It won't recognize a compressed file, and if you try to insert an uncompressed ROM file, it will complain that the ROM file is too big for the WAD. So there's a separate process for handling that. But enough talk about that. So this is for the Japanese one where we'll use the auto-injector tool. So the first thing that you need to do here, as you see in step 1, is download the WAD file for the Virtual Console release that you're going to be using. Obviously, I can't tell you how to do this, because reasons. So you need to find the WAD file for the Japanese Super Mario RPG Virtual Console release and download it. It's out there on the internet. Once you've found this, then we need to download, if you don't already have it, we need to download a homebrew app for the Wii that will allow us to install the modified WAD file that we're going to make. So this program here is called Yet Another WAD Manager, or YOM here. So we go to this link here, which will be on the wiki and in the description here, where this utility is, and we want to download yom.zip here. This is the current release of this program. So you just download this zip file. I've already got it downloaded, so I'm not going to bother downloading again. But you download the zip file, and you unzip this file here. So I've got this YOM downloaded here. So when you unzip YOM, just like we saw with RetroArch and the D2X iOS installer program that we did in the previous video, since you had to have done that in order to do this part, there's an apps folder, just like in the root of our SD card, and then inside this is the actual folder for the WAD Manager utility here. So you can copy this apps file to the root of your SD card and merge it, just like we did before, or you can go in here and you can just copy the WAD Manager folder and go into your SD card, go to apps, and just paste it directly in there instead of merging. It doesn't matter which way you do this. The point is, inside the apps folder in the root of your SD card, you have the WAD Manager now, along with, you see, RetroArch and the D2X installer, because we did that before. So once you have that installed, the next thing you want to download is this link here, which I'll also be in the description and on the wiki, is a link to some WAD editing tools that we're going to be using, one of them. So this is a 7-zip file here. So again, you need to use 7-zip to actually extract this. And again, I've already got this downloaded, so I'm going to go into where I downloaded it. So I extracted it to WAD editing tools here, just to a folder here. So when you extract this zip file for the WAD editing tools, We'll have a whole bunch of stuff in here. There's a bunch of tools and a whole bunch of files and folders in here. We are interested in one thing in particular, this folder right here that says Auto Injector. This is the magic thing that's going to do all the work for us. So we need to grab our randomized ROM and our WAD file. And we need to put them in this directory because this auto injector program looks in the folder where it's running for the files that it's going to use. So the WAD file I've already copied in here. So see right here I have smrpgj.wad. This is the Japanese Virtual Console WAD file which I downloaded online. So just like I did with the ROMs way back in the first video, I gave it a nice simple name just for convenience to recognize it. Just to be easier to work with. So smrpgj.wad. The US one is, of course, I named it smrpgu.wad. It's not in here because we're not using this for the US one. That'll be in the other video. So if we go to the randomizer folder here, so here I have our two randomized ROMs here with C 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just like we tested out before when we were doing the RetroArch stuff. So I'm going to take the Japanese randomized ROM here. We used the US one on RetroArch before, so I'm going to copy the Japanese one here, go back to WAD editing tools, auto injector, paste that in here. So now we've got the smrpgj.wad, we got smrpgj.123456789.smc, that's our randomized ROM file. So now, once these are in here, you open up the auto injector program here. So you can see we have two sections here. We have pick ROM to inject and pick WAD that we're going to inject it into. So smrpgj.wad is showing up right here, right? So we can pick that. Nothing's showing up over here because we have to tell it what console we're injecting for. So go up to this menu here, console mode, and select SNES. And now once you select that, then it refreshes. So now you see smrpgj.1234569, our randomized ROM is here. We pick this, we pick the WAD, and then down here in this little text box here that says custom injected channel title, we need to enter something in here. It can be anything you want, but what this is going to be is the title of the channel. Once it's actually installed as a channel, like the Virtual Console release, this is going to be the title. So we want to put something so that we can identify that it's this particular one. You know, if you've got probably something with a seed number, if you've got multiple seeds installed, would be convenient. So put smrpgj 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just easy to identify there. And then you'll see the output WAD file right here. You've got injecting this ROM into this WAD, and the output WAD is going to be VC smrpgj. It's going to have the title in it in smrpgj.wad telling you what it's injected into. So it's going to make a new separate WAD file so it won't overwrite the original, which is nice. So we enter our custom injected title here. You can pick something else if you want. It doesn't really matter what the title is. I recommend doing something with the seed number in it so that you can identify which one it is. That's just convenient. And then hit the start button down here. And then it's going to do the injection. And that all went by very quickly, but it opens up that command prompt window and it does all the packing and injecting into the WAD file here. And it finished successfully. So then we can close this down. And you can see we've got right here VC smrpgj 1234569 in smrpgj.wad. So here is our new WAD file. Notice it's the exact same size because the ROM file that we injected is the exact same size, so it's ended up exactly the same. And it is now injected into this modified WAD file. So now we want to install the WAD on our console. So we're going to copy this ROM file here. I guess I may as well cut the WAD file since we're not using it on the PC at all. So go back to the root of your SD card here. So we're going to use the WAD Manager program that we put in the apps folder there. We're going to use it to install this. So we want to put this on the SD card, but we want to put it in a specific place. So make a new folder in the root of the SD card. We're going to call it WAD, W-A-D. Not WADs with an S, WAD singular. We want it to be exactly this name, W-A-D. It has to be exactly this name because this folder is where that WAD Manager program will look for the WADs to install. So if you name it something else, then it will complain that it can't find any WADs because it's looking for this particular folder. So we're going to paste the randomized WAD in here, into this WAD folder, and then we're ready to go. So now we can inject the SD card. And we'll pull it out and switch back to the Wii. Yep. Now we will insert SD card into the Wii. Nope. And now, load up the homebrew channel. Once more, into the homebrew. And when the homebrew channel loads up, you should see we have yet another WAD manager. Right here, YOM. So we're going to select YOM. We're going to load it. And when it loads, now, first thing it asks for here is select iOS version to use. We want iOS 249. You might recognize iOS 249 from the previous video when we did the custom OS installation. We installed a particular custom OS there to slot 249. So the WAD manager here is going to use that custom OS that we installed in that slot in order to sign the WAD file specifically for our Wii console and install it so that it shows up as a normal channel specifically for this Wii. So you can see you can pick the different slots to install things here. You go left and right. Well, we're going to leave it on iOS 249. That's the one we want. So we hit A to continue. Select NAND emulator device. Leave this on disabled. We don't need that NAND emulation for the virtual console stuff. So just hit A. Select source device. Wii SD slot is what we need. You can see there's a few different options here. Like if you have a USB hard drive, something like that. So we want Wii SD slot because we're using an SD card. We hit A. And now you see WAD files on SD/WAD. So this is why that folder needed to be named exactly that. So here's our WAD file that we injected the randomized ROM into. So we go down to BC SMRPGJ that we created, and we just select it with A. And the action is install WAD. You can see the actions are install and uninstall, so you can uninstall it after you've installed it. So obviously we haven't installed it yet. We're gonna leave it uninstalled and hit A, and it will install the WAD file. And as soon as this is done, it won't take too long. But as soon as this installation is done, then the WAD file will appear as a channel on our main Wii menu. So the installation is finished. Press any button to continue. So now we can press B to go back. E to go back to the side here. So the home button will restart. So if you press the home button on your Wii remote, it will restart the Wii. That'll take us back to the homebrew channel menu. And if we hit home button again, go exit to system menu. So this will take us back to the system menu. And now, hey, looky here. This looks like a Super Mario RPG Japanese Virtual Console release. And if you hover over it on the menu, you see the title, SMRPGJ 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's our randomized injected ROM in here. So if we select start on here, I'm going to grab my controller. Of course, this being a Japanese Virtual Console release, we'll get some funny characters there because this is a North American Wii, and we're running a Japanese Virtual Console WAD on it. But it's all good, it's all fine. And take a look. So now this is Super Mario RPG on the Virtual Console. So you can see that it's got that sort of pixelated look to it. It doesn't have that filtering that RetroArch had on it. It also doesn't have any of that audio delay stuff. I'm going to hit A, just go to the title screen here. You can see this is the Japanese version. Looks pretty much just like it would on a SNES. And hey, look, it's Bowser again. If you remember when we opened up the US ROM that we had randomized and played it on RetroArch, we had Bowser as the file select screen character here. So if we start a new game here, now it asks you for your name. Now notice that if you remember on the English version, above the name entry field, it showed the seed number. so that we could confirm that here. The Japanese version of the game doesn't have room for that. The UI is slightly different. Also, I believe it doesn't have those characters available as well. Or it might, but it doesn't have room on the UI. So the author of the randomizer told us that he's left some little visual touches like that out of the Japanese version just because they don't really work on that. So we can go ahead and start this up. I'm gonna put LCC because, you know, speed runs. So if we just enter a name and start. So now this looks basically pretty much exactly like what you would expect. In fact, you'll even notice it doesn't have the slowdown that happened on RetroArch with the butterflies flying away, slowed down a little bit there. And Mario is actually synced up with the music hit there. That was not the case on when we played this on RetroArch, because it had some extra slowdown that doesn't exist in the Virtual Console release here. So there's a little example, as well as like the you know, retro pixelated appearance. It looks exactly like the SNES. There's no audio delay. This is why, you know, using this watt injection method is the preferred way of doing this. So if we go up to these terrapins here, if we remember, if I hit this guy, I believe, yep. So he had this genie was definitely there before, and Mario did like 86 damage, I want to say, if I remember. 84. So 84 damage. So that looks like what this looks like, the same values that we got before. Mario's doing 84 damage with the timed hits to the terrapins, and then if I don't do a timed hit, it'll be 42 because it's half. So yeah, this feels good. This feels very good to play. You know, I'm using my SNES to GameCube converter. Oh yeah, you remember with the forced fight here, we had this. I don't even remember, the Juju, I think this guy is called. Yeah, we had this guy. I think I mistimed that there, but whatever. So yeah, we're doing the same amount of damage we were doing before. It looks like we're seeing the same enemies in the sets there. So yeah, this looks like the same randomized ROM. We can just quickly play through the remainder of the prologue just so we can get to Mario's pad, and we can double check, and we can look at the stats on Mario and everything, and just we can see that everything is the same. Just for posterity, I'll play through a bit and show you. You know, if you can just stop the video now if you don't want to see the rest of this, because obviously I've shown you that, you know, this works and it's great. So one shot on the chain. Man, one-shotting the chain feels weird after doing the speed run so many times. I guess if you do read Japanese and you don't have trouble, you know, with the items and equipment and all that stuff, there is an advantage to using Japanese because the text is faster. The text is shorter, there's less text because Japanese tends to be a more condensed language than English, and the text is also scrolls faster as well. I really wish they didn't make that change. I'm not sure why they did that in the US version, but not only is the text longer, it also, like, scrolls onto the screen at a slower rate. At a little bit slower rate, and it's fairly noticeable when you switch from English to Japanese if you're speedrunning this game and you make that switch. It's a noticeable difference when you're going through the cutscenes and you see how much faster they finish, even though it's like, you know, 10 or 15 seconds faster. You feel it. So, unfortunately, like I said, you know, playing a randomizer in Japanese is problematic. So yeah, that's a bit of an issue. So. The other interesting thing about the Virtual Console releases is that they're actually cropped slightly in terms of the video. So this actually, like, if you have overscan on your TV, if you're playing it on a CRT, it's like slightly cropped, and you can get this, you can get it to look like this with RetroArch as well. You can mess with like the resolution settings and try to get something that matches the SNES's resolution. That's what I did with RetroArch to get it to look. And turning off the like the bilinear filtering and stuff in the video options. You can mess around with that stuff and get it to look like this, like the actual SNES. But the Virtual Console it takes everything, it does everything for you. It's all set up to be this way in the first place. And yeah, like I said, no frame rate issues because it's nice and stable. The input delay is as low as you're going to get. I think the Wii Virtual Console has maybe 1 frame of input delay. It's basically unnoticeable, pretty much. Yeah, it feels great. This basically feels pretty much like playing it on the SNES. It's as close as we're gonna get. All right, so here we are in Mario's pad. Let's open up the menu here, for example. Which one's the stats? There we go. Yeah, okay. So Mario has 19 speed, 42 attack, like before, only 1 defense, and then 5 magic attack and 7 magic defense. 20 HP, 12 to the next level. That matches what we had before. If I go to the special moves here, I don't even remember what this was. Oh, it was Super Flame, right? Yeah, it was Super Flame. It was the 4th one here. So this is Super Flame in Japanese, of course, and it costs 7 FP and it has 30 magic power. Those values I remember. And you see at the bottom, Mario learns a next move at level 8, which is kind of bad. He's not going to learn anything new for a while. That's kind of bad, even though the attack power is actually very, very good for a randomized seed. So yeah, this matches everything that we saw in the English ROM when we were playing on RetroArch. So yeah, it's the same seed, so that's what we expect to see, and it's great that it works in both languages the same, so people can play different languages and race if they want to. Yeah, so that's about it for this video. Now we can play the Japanese one. So thanks for watching, and tune into the next video if you want to see how to inject the randomized US ROM, because that process is a little bit more involved. There's an extra manual process that we have to do, like I said, because of the compression on the ROM. So I'll see you in the next video when I walk you through that. Thanks for watching, guys.